on, it's just not even funny. It says this study is unique and elegant as it clearly documents the impact that these kinds of accidents can have, says Julie Ann Baer, a leading expert on the effects of vinyl chloride at the University of Pittsburgh, who was not involved actually in this study. But she said it is not the first time researchers have seen distal effects of local environment events, and it's unclear what long-term impact, it can't be good, such environmental exposures could have on communities. If it's already, oh my God, 16 states, and it was last year in February, are you kidding me? I think it should be concerned. I think we should be concerned. That's what this lady said, Julie Ann Baer. And you know what, Julie Ann Baer, I agree. Let me read it again. I think we should be concerned. Now, there was also an article by UPI News, and they have something very similar. A lot of the articles do, but they have something that is different in here. A few key points that I just want to bring up. Let me kind of skim through this. They're basically saying about a variety of things. Okay. The study estimates that the toxic chemicals affect about 110 million U.S. citizens from the Midwest. Okay? And they mentioned some of the other places that they did, but key points like Minnesota, Wisconsin, New England. The study says the chemicals are even found as far as Tennessee, North Carolina, and far to the north. Okay? And they speak of Ontario, the southern part of Ontario and Canada. Then it goes on to say, I'm going to scroll down. Okay. Now they mentioned in here the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, which said it is aware of the study but has yet to review it. It previously had confirmed that the train cars carried vinyl chloride, benzene, ethanol glycol, monobutyl ether, and some other ones that I can't pronounce. Three others. The chemicals are associated with a range of various, I bet they are, of various acute and chronic adverse health effects depending on the level and frequency of exposure. And then I found this to be important. The findings in the study run counter to news and information released last year in which experts originally claimed Canada likely would not be on the receiving end of any toxic chemical spread related to this particular derailment. Now, I vaguely heard of, but I didn't watch, something in the news about a possible settlement. It says here the White House in September announced a $1.4 billion dollars for a range of projects to improve railroad safety and repair the industry's tattered infrastructure across the United States via President Joe Biden's bipartisan infrastructure law. So going back to what I was saying about a possible settlement, I don't know how that all panned out, but I did see something in passing. So I wonder what's going to happen with that. Now I'm scrolling down, and it says the $1 billion investment was hailed by the Transportation Department, which recently set new training requirements for rail workers as the largest federal investment in rail safety upgrades in the nation's history. Now, my stepfather worked for Amtrak, but he didn't really talk a lot about his job or whatever. I don't really know a lot about, the whole transportation and rail, railway safety and so forth and so on. But this would accidents like this, maybe not as extreme or as highly publicized, but you do hear about it. I didn't realize how antiquated the train and railway system was. Yet again, maybe I shouldn't be all that surprised, but things were brought out in this one and other cases like this, in which they have all these accidents, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm surprised we don't have more of them. And I kind of wonder if we do and they're just not being covered. They're happening, but we're not, because if it's that antiquated, you know what I'm saying? How could it not happen, sadly, you know? So it says the Justice Department said that Norfolk Southern estimates it will spend more than $1 billion on contamination cleanup and mitigating other potential harms, along with proving rail safety, and operations. This is the DOJ and EPA in May announced a $310 million settlement with Norfolk Southern in the derailment. Now, along with a $15 million civil penalty, the settlement will require Norfolk Southern to pay for past and future cleanup costs, enhanced rail safety and health monitoring. Now, it also says Norfolk Southern likewise agreed to a $600 million class action settlement to resolve claims surrounding last year's train derailment. But now some East Palestine residents find themselves hesitant to sign on, and I can't blame them. I can't blame them. And yet again, they have a quote from Julianne Baer that says, I think we should be concerned, And she is a vinyl chloride expert, citing the likelihood of long-term environmental impacts on states and communities. Now, in ABC News, they have also, of course, about this, and it says, let's see, following the derailment, Dr. Aaron Haynes, chair of the University of Kentucky's Department of Epidemiology and Environmental Health, surveyed approximately 400 adults in the East Palestine area around their health effects after the accident. Now, Haynes found that 3 out of 4 residents suffered health impacts after the derailment, and over half of the residents reported their conditions continued through the fall of 2023. So here are some of the things that they reported: nose and eye irritation, coughing and wheezing, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, rashes, and just feeling very fatigued. Lethargic, weak, tired were among the symptoms reported, according to Haynes. Then they speak of that particular settlement that in April 2024, Norfolk Southern agreed to a $600 million settlement to resolve a class action lawsuit related to the train derailment. Now, on News Nation, it says the controlled burn was unnecessary. Wow, In March, a National Transportation Safety Board Chair, Jennifer Hamdi, testified before the Senate that the controlled burn and explosion set off in the wake of the derailment could have been avoided. Several pieces of necessary information were not shared with state and local leaders, who decided to vent and burn 5 tank cars after being advised by Norfolk Southern contractors at the scene of the crash that it was their only option. There's quoted to saying, by her, they were provided incomplete information to make a decision. An investigation by the NTSB found that Governor Mike DeWine, East Palestine Fire Chief Keith Drabick, and several other officials were told they had minutes to decide whether to vent the train cars or wait and risk an controlled explosion.